In a quiet village surrounded by rolling hills, there was a single path that connected the village to the bustling marketplace in the nearby town. The path was narrow and winding, cutting through fields and crossing streams. It was the lifeline of the village, used daily by farmers, traders, and travelers. However, the path had one problem. A large stone lay right in the middle, blocking the way. No one knew how the stone got there, but it had been there for years. Every time someone walked the path, they cursed the stone. It was big enough to trip over, but too heavy to move without great effort. Most people simply stepped around it or grumbled as they passed by. One day, as the sun rose over the hills, Ravi, a poor farmer, set out for the market with a sack of vegetables on his back. Ravi was known in the village as a hard-working man. Though he had little, he was always kind and helpful. As he approached the familiar spot where the stone lay, he saw a small group of villagers gathered around, chatting. "Another day, another obstacle," one man muttered, gesturing to the stone. "Why doesn't the village head do something about this? Or the rich merchants," another woman added. "They use this road the most." "They won't bother," said a third. "It's easier to complain than to act." Ravi paused, listening to their words. He looked at the stone, then at the villagers. "Why hasn't anyone tried to move it?" he asked. "It's not our job," one of them replied with a shrug. "We're not the ones in charge." Ravi nodded but didn't say anything. He put down his sack of vegetables and stared at the stone for a moment. Then he knelt down and placed his hands against it. The struggle. The stone was heavy, much heavier than Ravi had expected. As he pushed, his muscles strained, and sweat began to drip down his face. The villagers watched in silence at first, but soon the murmurs began. "Why is he bothering?" one woman whispered. "He's wasting his time," said another. "He can't move it alone." But Ravi didn't stop. He shifted his stance, planted his feet firmly, and pushed again. His hands ached, his back burned, and the stone barely budged. The villagers began to chuckle. "Leave it, Ravi," someone called. "You'll hurt yourself for nothing." Ravi ignored them. He thought about the countless times he had seen people stumble over the stone, the frustration on their faces. He thought about how easy it was to blame others, but how rare it was to take responsibility. Gritting his teeth, he gave one final, powerful push. A surprise underneath. With a loud scrape, the stone rolled to the side of the path. Ravi stumbled back, panting, and wiped the sweat from his forehead. The villagers stared, stunned, as the obstacle that had been part of their lives for so long was finally gone. "Look!" someone shouted, pointing to the ground where the stone had been. Beneath the stone was a small hole. Ravi knelt down and reached inside. His fingers touched something soft and cool. When he pulled his hand out, he was holding a leather pouch. The crowd leaned in, their curiosity growing. Ravi opened the pouch to reveal several gleaming gold coins and a folded piece of parchment. "What is it?" a villager asked. Ravi unfolded the parchment and read aloud. "This reward belongs to the one who cared enough to clear the path for others. The true test of character is not in words, but in actions." The village head. The lesson for the village. A hush fell over the crowd. The villagers looked at each other, their faces a mix of shame and admiration. One man finally spoke. "We've all walked this path every day. We've all complained about the stone, but none of us ever thought to move it. Ravi didn't just move a rock. He taught us a lesson we'll never forget." Ravi smiled humbly and tucked the note back into the pouch. Sometimes, the things we complain about the most are the things we can fix ourselves, he said. Word of Ravi's actions spread quickly through the village. People began to reflect on their own lives, realizing how often they waited for someone else to solve their problems. Inspired by Ravi, the villagers started to take responsibility for their surroundings. They repaired broken fences, cleared overgrown paths, and helped each other with daily tasks. The stone, now resting on the side of the road, became a symbol of change. Travelers who heard the story would stop and touch it, remembering the importance of effort and initiative. Years later, as time passed, the village grew and prospered. Ravi continued his simple life, still helping others and working hard. The villagers often spoke of the day he moved the stone, not because of the gold coins he found, but because of the message he left behind. One evening, as Ravi walked the familiar path home, he saw a group of children playing near the stone. One of the boys turned to him and said, "Is it true you moved this stone all by yourself?" Ravi chuckled and nodded. "Yes, but remember, it wasn't just about moving the stone. It was about clearing the way for others and showing that even the smallest effort can make a big difference." The children listened intently, their young minds absorbing the wisdom. They didn't know it yet, but Ravi's story would stay with them for the rest of their lives, shaping their actions and choices in ways they couldn't yet imagine. Let's learn some words from the story. Grumbled, meaning to complain quietly or murmur in discontent. Example: the students grumbled when the teacher assigned extra homework. Strained, meaning to make a great effort, using physical or mental strength. Example: he strained his muscles while lifting the heavy box.